Welcome once again to the Ahern video podcast. Lately I've been receiving a lot of telephone calls from many of you stating I'm ready to start a succession plan. Now, to many of us, succession plan simply means if you're a family business, you want to pass the business on to your children. But that isn't necessarily the exact definition of a successor plan. A successor plan is setting up a program or a plan to transition your business to a third party, whether it be family, employees, or an outside third party. I'm constantly asked, when should I start? The day you begin a business is the day you should start planning to exit the business, but we never do. Having done a lot of succession planning with family businesses, I can tell you that it's a very emotional process. It's a very difficult process as owners or CEOs to face, because you're not only talking about passing the baton to someone else, you're also talking about a major portion of your life passing you by. And to some of us, that's frightening because it means we're aging. Well, aging is a fact of life. I have 4 children plus a stepchild, so that gives me a total of 5 children. They're all out of the house, they're grown, but the things I think about are that I don't necessarily know that I would want to be in their environment today. And I remember my grandfather saying to me, he's glad he's not going to be in our environment. The point I'm trying to make is that you have to constantly change. In business, you have to constantly change. You have to constantly think outside the box, but you have to plan. Why do most family businesses fail to transfer from one generation to the next? And the answer is they lack of planning. The second thing is, if you're going to do a successor plan, you have to know what the market's willing to pay for your business at any given time. Now, if your succession plan is for 5, 10, or 15 years, it's a moving target. But if you deal with someone that has experience in that, if you're getting your growth, you're increasing your margins, you're keeping your overhead low, and you're consistently not having too much concentration with any one client, you're always going to be able to create value for your business. For most of us that talk about our children, let's talk about our children. Just because your children are in business doesn't mean they're entitled. If their name is Jones or Smith or Ahern, just because that's their name and just because you happen to be the founder or the owner does not mean that they're entitled to take over the business. They have to earn it. If you're going to pass the business on to your children, you have to look at them as employees. The other thing I want to talk about is it doesn't make any difference whether your children are male or female. Do not discriminate. Do not think that if you have a daughter in the business, she is not capable of running the business. First of all, women are very organized. Two, most of the women that I know that are in the trucking industry are very driven. And also, they're out to prove something. So what I'm saying is you cannot discriminate. You know, we've always said discrimination is based on race and creed and color, but discrimination comes in all sizes. And the point I'm trying to make is if you have children in the business, whether it's a male or a female, focus on who can be the best leader. Focus on who can embrace the best values. Focus on the one that is the most responsible. Because if you're going to transfer your business to your children, you have to recognize there can only be one leader. You can't put 4 children together and say, jointly you're going to run the business, because it's not going to happen. Secondly, when you develop your plan, you have to do it in stages. Now, there's several components to that. First of all, if you're going to pass the business to the children, they have to have financial risk. If they expect you to give them the business and they expect to have no risk involved in the business, and your business is part of your major retirement, and they say, just give me the business, forget it, sell it to an outside third party. They have to have financial risk, because several things have to happen. You have to have a mechanism to create some type of liquidity, unless you're financially set for life already. But you want to create some kind of financial liquidity the day that you close, which means there's an obligation to the children, by the children. Number 2, if for some reason your children have to get rid of the company, they have to have a financial loss involved as well. Don't just assume that it's okay if they don't make it. Because ultimately, for most of us, our businesses are retirement, and we want to protect our retirement. And when you look at your children, you have to look at them as employees, not as children. It's a very emotional process. It's a very difficult process. But I have written articles on successor planning in my 2009, I think, and 2010 newsletters. You can archive them on our website at www.ahern-ltd.com. I'm writing a new series starting this week. And in there, I'm going to go through all of the things that you have to consider if you want to go through a succession plan. Recently, I completed a very difficult process because the owner knew that his son was not capable of running the business, but employees were. Very emotional process, very difficult process, but we were able to complement all of the emotional issues so that at the end of the day everybody was happy. In closing, until next time, if you want to pass your business on to a third party, if you want to pass your business on to your children, if you want to pass your business on to your employees, now is the time to start. Until next time, thank you for attending the podcast.